Now it's time to go over the best playoff runs. These are just a couple pictures that I found that just made the list, I guess. But what do you think the best playoff run that you guys remember? I already know it, D. I'm going to you first, D, because I already know it's the middle picture. It's all good. Go ahead.
I don't champion very many white folks, but Dirk Nowitzki, he's not white. To me, his name is Derek Nowitzki, or whatever else y'all want to call him. But to me, he's Derek Nowitzki. He is the great white hope.
Whoa.
Yeah, that way. Hey, you asked me a question. Hold on, you asked me a question.
No. You're gonna take Larry Bird's name away from him? That's what we're doing?
Has Larry Bird ever had a playoff run like this?
Well, he has 2 more championships.
You said greatest playoff runs. We didn't say
no, but what I'm saying, you're taking Larry Bird's name? Damn.
I'm in the kitchen, bro. Let me cook.
Well, you better sizzle something up, man, because it's pretty bland.
Time and time again, he went to the finals against just so happened to be the Miami team that's sitting to the right of him, and he lost. And, he time and time again, he kept getting further and further. And I just feel like once he beat that Lakers team, it was over. It's just, and then you had to beat LeBron. Like, everybody was hitting on cylinder the whole playoff run. And then on top of that, Dirk gets sick. He finds a way to feel better, comes back, and then outscores the other team and still wins. So it's just like his playoff run to me is really historic because after he got that one ring, he was just good. He was good. Nobody came to Dallas, to will him on, some crazy, rookie that's just balling out of control that he could mentor or whatever. It was just Dirk and just balled out of control. Now, personally, me looking at this list, I feel like you can take Miami off and put Detroit there.
That actually was going to be my answer for playoff run.
I don't really feel like Miami should be there strictly because you had a what's the best way to put? I don't want to be like a declining Shaq. That's the nicest way to put it. And you had a on the rise Dwayne Wade, and I feel like that's the closest you can get to oil and water without saying oil and water. And I feel like it was just like it almost made you feel like Shaq was crippled without having a good shooting guard. That's basically what it made you feel like.
Yeah.
And when I look at that playoff run, it's like, okay, this is great. This is fantastic. It's dope. But it's like, if Shaq wasn't here, I kind of feel like Dwayne Wade would have still got it. But like as far as Kobe's
concerned, almost averaging 50.
His run runs closest in comparison to Dirk's because he was injured like beyond measure. Everything on his body was broken, and he was just going out there and balling like crazy. But what a lot of people don't understand is around this time when Kobe made it to the playoffs when he played Boston and he lost, that whole year, if you look at his game, it changed and it slowly maneuvered towards becoming more of a facilitator. And in the midst of him becoming a facilitator, he got lucky and got, well, I wouldn't say he got lucky. The organization made moves, and he got P, starts with a P. Paul Gasol. He got Paul Gasol. And once he got Paul Gasol, it's like, okay, now I'm a facilitator, and I got somebody to facilitate to. Because if you look at a lot of those plays he was running, he was doing a lot of up and unders, but he was also doing a lot of pick and rolls. But his difficult shot thing never changed. He always was still able to make difficult shots. And once they played Orlando in the finals, that's when he just did Kobe. He didn't care about anything else. He just did Kobe because he knew that's what was going to get him that ring. And then when they did back-to-back, it made more sense because they added more pieces over time. So those are the only two. I don't feel like number 3, the Miami championship should be on here.
Like I said, I just found a picture. But going back to this Dallas Mavericks, I think that could be one of the best runs. I have the playoffs. So in the first round, they beat that Portland team. And then they played a Lakers team that went to 3 straight finals at that point. Because they went to the 08, 09, and 2010.
Wasn't Kobe injured that year?
No, he was playing. They were the number 2 seed. The Lakers were the number 2 seed that season. So they were trying to go for their 3rd straight championship that year. So now you have Dallas beating them, beating Kobe and Powell, and then going to the conference finals to beat a young Oklahoma City team, which they had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant. And then they go and beat Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James.
Arrest my case.
So it's hard to put that. I understand the Pistons.
I'm out. Because that Pistons team beat Flash and
it really came down to that Pacers and Pistons in the East. No one else mattered.
Wait. I don't think it's about. No, go ahead. Because I know what you're about to say. Go ahead.
The Pacers were probably the semifinals, but the finals they had to run through the Heat because this was 05 because 06 the Heat won, but they had Shaq in 05, but they had to beat Shaq in
You said 03,
I'm not talking about that Detroit team. I'm talking about that team where they beat the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq. That was their last year together.
That's 03-04.
Yeah. So that was like the Pistons and Pacers. It came down to those 2 teams. Then the following after that year, that's when they got Jack, and that's when the brawl came. Right. So I already knew in the East it was going to be one of those 2 teams coming out.
But the
issue was with the Kobe and Shaq issue and the feud and all that shit. They had Karl Malone and Gary Payton at that time too. And
I remember that. That was
the super team.
squad.
Yeah, but
I would say
the
design?
design?
I wouldn't say super team. I wouldn't say super team. They were declining on the end.
Well, you had 2 players that were going to go to the Hall of Fame that pretty much they were just trying to win a championship. That's all it was.
What was Karl Malone doing that year? And Gary Payton.
He was hollering at Kobe's wife.
They went into free agency. Got on the team, just trying to, hey, these fools have won 3 championships. They just three-peated. Let's get on this coattail. Let's see what we can do. And it was what it was. But I think the game plan of how to attack that team, meaning Shaq, to pull him out of the paint, that was the big thing with, of course, Ben Wallace doing his thing and Rasheed Wallace doing his thing and, everybody else. Tayshaun Prince was a big thing on that team.
Yeah, he was the X factor. The reason why they won.
X factor. So I would say they would be right there because they were such an underdog. Even though they had the best defense in the league,
that's by and large why they won. Why I have them up there because no one really. You don't look at that team and say, "Oh, I'm gonna build my team around one of these particular players." There was no franchise player. That was the ultimate team.
Rasheed Wallace was kind of like,
no, it was
he can carry you.
Don't do that.
He can carry you, but he's also on his way out.
I don't think he was on that team.
Rasheed Wallace?
No.
Yeah, he was.
No, he did not, bro. Chauncey Billups ran that team. Chauncey Billups was the undefined. It was the unprecedented leader on that team, bro. It went Chauncey Billups.
You got to think about that. What you saying? You right in what you saying, but Chauncey Billups had bounced around like an NBA journeyman for most of his career until he landed there.
Because he landed into a leadership position. It wasn't never like he wasn't a leader. You can't be a leader if you're a journeyman. That's literally the whole purpose of a journeyman is to not be a leader. You just do what needs to be done. You see what I'm saying?
What I'm saying is up until that point in his career, that's who he was. He was on the Spurs. I'm not talking about Denver when he was playing with AI. I don't think he was there at that point. But it was a gang of teams he was on because nobody was really checking for him like that.
So you saying no, go ahead.
Yeah, Rasheed Wallace was on that team. That's what I thought. Yeah, he was going.
Of course, he was on the team. He was like a defensive. The same year, what? Because Ben Wallace, and if you watch it, like the build up to like Detroit winning, Ben Wallace, he won Defensive Player of the Year like 4 times in a row.
Well, that's Ben Wallace. I'm talking about Rasheed Wallace.
Well, I'm just saying the precursor leading up into the championship. Like anybody with 2 eyes and ears could have seen it coming.
That's right. That's like when Melo was talking about that. They should have chose him, and you could have had.
That's a
Carmelo on the
dynasty,
team.
bro. Melo would have 3 rings right now in red and blue.
Yeah, but I gotta stick with Dirk. I gotta stick with
because
Dirk.
you gotta think about it. You gotta think about it. From 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, I say so from 05, 06, 07, if Melo was on the Detroit Pistons, he would have been the biggest problem for in the Eastern Conference.
Facts. Because if you
And
look
if
at
he's
it,
the
Darko's
biggest
still on that roster.
aside from dealing with LeBron because he really doesn't have much help, you're playing against one player versus playing against 5 players, so it's a little bit different. Okay, so if that's the analogy, and we go forward, I think personally what happens is if Boston does not win that championship, that one year that they won that championship, and the Detroit Pistons are still in their firepower state, I feel like Kevin Garnett was supposed to wait, no, not Kevin Garnett.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
About a team. What about the 2010 Lakers? Meaning going through a young OKC team in the first round, then going through the Jazz is like whatever. I mean, they had the Carlos Boozer, Darren Williams, I think. Or no, that was Gordon Hayward's team. Gordon Hayward and them. And then going through the Suns in the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
The Steve Nash team. And then beating 4 Hall of Famers with the Celtics.
I think that's like that's like, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? It'll work, but I think if we're gonna talk Lakers and the best playoff runs is the year they went like 15-1 when they beat the the Nets.
Yeah, but it's the Nets, bro. Like,
but it's a 15-1 run is hard to
Jazz, though.
They didn't.
That's hard to
the only team they really played was what? It was the Kings or the Blazers, whatever conference finals they were playing. That's really the hardest team they played. And the Spurs were coming up again. You know how consistent they are. But
Spurs, I really don't think they ever left. I just think that they were just consistent and a constant all the time. And when other teams fell off, they were there to win the championship.
Yeah. Like if Kobe and Shaq stayed together.
I don't agree with that. It's not just that. I don't think Shaq's body was built to win you multiple titles. 325 I'm looking at right now. No way, dude. I don't believe he can win like
like what Kobe said. He thinks he should have 7, 8 titles or 10 titles. No. He said if Shaq had his work ethic and they stayed together.
I mean, if Shaq had his work ethic and kept his body at a manageable weight, because the older you get, coming down tends to hurt. And 325 pounds up and down for 40-something minutes for 82 games plus playoffs, the closer and closer you get to 40, I mean, come on, man. Shoot. No, I don't think that's feasible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of close to go against those teams. Yeah, like Thunder were up and coming. Okay, whatever. But then, the Jazz, whatever. But that Suns teams were good with the, with Amari and Steve Nash, Sean Marion. I don't think. Let me check that 2010 team.
I feel like had they stayed together, kind of like how the Spurs did, they probably would have came up on a championship. Yeah.
Let's see, Suns 2000, and you had Barbosa, I believe, on that team.
Yep, Barbosa was on there. Joe Johnson.
Was Joe Johnson on that team? Was that his last year, right? With the Suns?
What, 2010?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Who's the other guy? Quentin Richardson.
They had a squad.
Yeah. And that was Amari at his best. That's the thing. That's another thing.
So yeah,
Mark
Barbosa.
got hurt.
You had Goran Dragic on that team too.
Mhm.
Shannon Fry, Grant Hill, Steve Nash, Jay Rich, Amari. Yeah. And then to go beat 4 Hall of Famers, that's tough. With Boston, of course.
Yeah.
So, but I still think that 2011 team for Dallas, for what they had constructed, it's hard to not say that they're the toughest to get through, right?
I mean, I told you my pick is the Pistons, bro. No franchise player, no MVP.
You don't
Come
think
on,
Rip
man.
Hamilton was their kind of franchise player?
No, he was just a system shooter that ran around screens and caught and shot.
But
and
that's what
played
Reggie
defense.
Miller did as a franchise player for the Pacers.
No, Rip was never a franchise player. I don't. Mm-mm.
I'm just saying that's the only
Peabody
player I
and
could
Chauncey
see being a franchise player for that team was Rip. But so
Bro, that's miles off. Like I don't. But okay, look what
Chauncey,
happened
bro.
after the team blew up.
right?
Chauncey's the closest pick, but Chauncey wasn't. I don't think he had enough.
That's if you have to pick. That's if you have to.
You
Pick.
have to, yes.
Yeah. If you have to, yeah.
I don't think it's Rip. Everybody on this list, aside from Detroit, really it would just be, they got Dirk in Dallas, they got Kobe with the Lakers, and they got Miami, LeBron with Miami.
That's my thing. Detroit was they were undermanned, and then they were beating teams with franchise players. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
That's that's probably the best defensive team in the 2000s.
You can argue ever.
I don't know about
Like
that.
you can argue that because they beat a team that just did a three-peat.
I don't know about ironically, the only team I probably will look at
You have to look in the 80s and 90s.
better than them is the Bad Boys Pistons, honestly.
Yeah, they called them the Bad Boy Pistons 2.0. That's what they called the team.
No, Tony, I'm saying that's the only team I would probably put in front of those defensively, in front of the Pistons team.
Yeah. What about the Bulls? They had ridiculous, especially that last three-peat where you had 3 shut down perimeter defenders in Harper, Pippen, and Jordan.
Yeah, but you compare defense after what was it? The zone defense wasn't banned yet, was it?
You can still do zone defense. It's just you have to move in motion with it. Like
it wasn't like that during that second three-peat, was it?
You could stand in the lane and not get a 3-second call back then.
And that's what I'm saying. So
pretty much just like how college
different.
is. College, you can do that. You don't get a 3-second call back in 2010s. So, but now it's different, obviously. But
I think if you're gonna do it closest to era, I think the closest team you compare it to is like Boston, because they had really good defense. That was a really good put together team.
What, 08?
As far as defense is concerned, that was a really good put together team.
I agree. Yeah. Perkins was, oh man. Shit.
What about those?
He was out the game, bro. He was going crazy.
Yeah.
I have a question. What about those New York teams in the 90s?
Yeah.
Just talking defense.
With Allen Houston?
Yeah. With Patrick Ewing, you had Charles Oakley. You had, then you had that.
I think if you.
I'm not saying they're the best. I'm just naming some defensive teams like that's what their identity is. Just like Indiana with the Davis brothers, right? And Rick Smits wasn't really a defense. He was just a shot blocker and could hit that mid range.
Yeah, he knew his role. I think if you take like one of the team that Michael played, the Knicks, that Michael played. When he played, it was the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Yeah, the Knicks.
When he played that team, I think if you take that team and you add some speed and a little bit more depth to them, I think they would have a championship in this era. At least one.
Well, they went back in '99, but lost to the Spurs. But they had Tim Duncan and David Robinson.
Yeah, your favorite team, yeah.
Yeah, so they had that, and then they haven't been back because of James Dolan. And hey, since we're on the subject, let's talk about it real quick. What was your thoughts on the Madison Square Garden giving Patrick Ewing problems, the security?
It's unacceptable. It's just like Charles Oakley being carried out the way he was carried out.
Spike Lee, too.
Next topic.
I feel like it's all James Dolan's fault, no matter what happens.
He runs things. He's the owner. He knows what is happening day in, day out.
He's acting like a fragile woman. I don't know what's going on.
I truly believe, I don't think he's on that level, but they need to treat it like it is on that level, because the NBA, every sport needs LA and New York markets to do well, to grow their brand. I truly believe that. I think they should
think that's true.
do. I do. I think they should do as a Donald Sterling situation and try to get him out as owner.
Wow, I'm not saying he's the greatest guy.
Donald Sterling was racist, bro. He was mad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's on the same level, right? But at the same time, you haven't been relevant for over 20 years, and you are the Knicks. You haven't won a championship since Phil Jackson was a player on the Knicks. Think about that. And the shit that he's been pulling with Charles Oakley, having like 10 people shove him out. Him out.
Wrong. You're right. I'm not saying you're not wrong.
Spike Lee.
I'm just saying that's that. Yeah, Spike Lee. I remember that one.
And now the guy who's in the rafters, who is the face of New York Knicks, is the face.
No.
No. From the time he got drafted up until even when you think of New York Knicks, you think of Patrick Ewing playing against Jordan, right? Like, he's still a visual when it comes to Madison Square Garden.
He's a staple in the community.
He doesn't have a ring. Like, come on now.
Hey, all right. So Charles Barkley, freaking Patrick Ewing, like half the players on the Dream Team don't have any rings because of Jordan. Right. So, like, you can't fully put that on them because, like, dude, we lost to probably the greatest player ever.
Well, yes, you can. We just sat here and talked about, if New York had some speed and some height, they probably would have came away with a championship, but they didn't. That's sports.
It is.
Yeah, and the thing about Charles Barkley is he had an opportunity to go to championship teams, and he chose not to.
Well, that's how the era was. That's why.
But based on your era and being stupid is two different things.
They didn't do things. They believed back then who you got drafted by is who you stay with. You don't go to other teams.
So basically, they didn't believe in winning by any means necessary.
I mean, when you're already winning like Jordan, why would you go? I mean, there was rumors he was
Stop. Because Jordan almost went to the Knicks and he almost went to the Clippers.
Kobe almost went to the Clippers too.
No, Kobe almost went to Chicago too.
Yeah, both.
So don't sit up here and I hate. Don't push the narrative that it's.
I'm not pushing the narrative. I'm just telling you what I've seen and watched. That was the idea of who you get drafted by is who you stay with. That's why they're all against KD and LeBron, like the old heads are. That's what they think.
KD's situation is different, though.
I look at it as,
a lot different.
If you're you don't like where you're working and you apply for a job and you get it and you leave your old company to go to this company who's going to treat you better or whatever it is, people praise you.
Okay, but it's a principle. It's going to your rival company.
Shit, I did that. I went to AT&T. I was at AT&T. I went to Verizon.
Okay, but how many people do you know? Oh, did your boss know you? Did you actively tell your let it be known?
So this is what happened.
Did you play? Time out. Did you play AT&T in the playoffs? I mean, Verizon in the playoffs.
He plays them every day in
Every
sales.
single day. Yeah.
Okay, then. But did they ever beat you 3-1?
They never beat me when I was at AT&T. I'll tell you that.
Oh, so okay then. So you went to a team where you knew you would be better at. What I'm saying is, KD had an opportunity to win and didn't win.
I
And then you go
went
to
to
the team that just
Verizon
whooped
for a
your ass.
future, basically. That's
That's
the
where
reason why I
that's
left.
why KD went to the Warriors for a future.
A future ring.
Yeah. So you can't really hate on it. But what I hate is they say Steph Curry was the best player on that team. That's one thing I cannot agree with.
I think everybody knows that. I mean,
not here in the Bay. They rather pick Draymond Green over KD. I'm dead serious. I've had hours and hours of discussions about this, and I asked them if they were on meth, like for real. I
mean, probably.
It's because nobody respects KD.
Look at what Draymond's doing now. So, yeah,
he had 12 assists today.
Nobody respects KD. That's why.
They don't respect him, but
that's literally all it is, bro. If you got to create burner accounts, you got to argue with fans. Deep down inside, you know nobody respects your rings, bro. I respect KD as a player 1,000%. There's never going to be another scorer like him. But as far as your rings are concerned, you should have beat Golden State.
They were up 3-1, yes.
And the simple fact of you had an opportunity to go to the Celtics, which would have panned out way better because you would have got that ring in the bubble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. with Bradley Beal. You had an opportunity to go to so many other teams, but you chose the team that whooped your ass in the playoffs when you had a 3-1 lead. That's like going back to your ex-girlfriend and she gives you all the evidence and proof like, hey, babe, I cheated on you. Here's all the evidence and the proof. And you still go back and be with her. And then you guys have 2 babies.
Yeah.
That's dumb as hell, bro. Why would you do that?
That's called child support, man. That's dumb.
That's called idiocracy.
I don't know. I just think, I don't know. I think you could talk about that as, well, not really. Kawhi Leonard, not really. Because he has
Kawhi Leonard's situation is different though, because he really wanted to get out of San Antonio, and he just went to the first team. Kawhi Leonard's situation is more of luck than like skill.
Well, yeah, no. If KD doesn't get hurt or Clay doesn't get hurt, the Warriors win that. It's like not even a discussion. And if both of them don't get hurt, of course they're definitely winning easily. But it's just one of those things. That's sports, right?
Yeah, I think that's